I've decided that I'm going to replace the U-joints in the drive shaft because they're harder to get at than the half shafts. So you have to remove this clip, and depending on how rusted and such that they are, they can be a problem to get out, but these don't appear too bad. I'm just essentially prying them out. The new ones will come with new clips. I don't really care if I damage these clips because I'll be putting the new ones in. Basically, that's how you get the clip out. Sometimes they break and you just hammer them out with a screwdriver, however you can get them out, because the cap and I had two of them laying here and I can't find them. There they are. The cap is just pressed into that. So in order to remove it, we're going to have to push it out. But I'll remove the rest of those clips and then we'll proceed to pressing them out. Okay, what we're going to do is press the caps out of the yoke. What you need is a socket big enough to hold a cap, because you're going to be pressing it into it for the back side. And on the front side, you need a socket that fits just the cap and goes inside the yoke so that it can push it out. I've opened up my vise already and got it pretty close to where it needs to be. And I'm going to try to set this so that the sockets in that I'm pushing on and pushing into are directly over the center line of the vise, so that we have a good alignment. It's difficult to do with one person, but with a little patience you can get it. So the second socket, if you will, has to be supporting the yoke and have room for the cup to get pushed in. So I'm going to move the camera around, and hopefully this one doesn't give us too much of a problem. Looks like it could come up a little bit on the back side here, or front side. When I look at it from that angle, that looks like it's in fairly good shape to push it. Now, hopefully it's not rested in there too bad, and just by pushing on this with the vise, it will crack it open. By the way, you need a fairly big vise in order to accomplish this, because if you look at this, I've got this open almost 7 inches. Probably needed 7 inches in order to get it set up and in there. So starting to turn easier. Yep, I see some movement over here. So it has broken loose. Takes quite a bit of effort, depending on how much you've got Okay, that feels like it's holding up now. It's probably bottoming out in this socket here, so hopefully it's out far enough that, I know it looks like it's bottoming up on the actual U-joint. So I'm not going to be able to push that any further. I'm going to take it out and should be able to pull it, the cap out. It looks like it's most of the way out. If not, oh, not very far out. This is a bit unusual for me because I've never had one where I bottomed out on the U-joint before it came all the way out. Just going to have to play this by ear. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, now that I know that it's loose, what I will do is I will grip the cup in the vise and then pry up on the actual yoke. And then what we'll do is we'll turn it around and push the other side the other way. They both have to come out from the outside. Never had one that happened on. Usually you can just push it right out. But there you go. It came out. Now I'm losing the needles, but that's okay because I'm replacing it. Interesting, this came all the way out. Well, almost all the way up. If I can get this to go a little bit more, and get that other cap off, and it will come all the way out. If not, I'll have to just push it back through, which is normally what you have to do. So, I'm going to shut the camera off and decide which approach I have to take and clean up these needles and everything. Okay, I think I've got this started back into the yoke. I don't have a socket on here yet because I have a little bit of room to push with before I need a socket or something to get the depth I need. But I'm going to try to get this started firmly into the yoke so that I know it'll go all the way through. That is pretty hard. I'm concerned that it might not be going in there straight, although it does look pretty straight. But I'm going to back off, check it out. Well, it doesn't look too bad, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some lubrication in here. Make it slip a little easier. Okay, since this stub is now inside the yoke, I added a socket to push with, and it's pushing pretty easily. And then when I get it further in, what I'll do is I'll just, it's all the way in. It's bottoming out against the vise now, so I'll have to add the receiver socket, wherever I put it, the receiver socket to accept the cup as I push it through. Okay, I've pushed it to where I'm bottoming out on the U-joint again, so I'll take it out, pull that out. Once you have both of the caps off, you now should have the room to wiggle the U-joint out of the yoke. So there you have it. That's how you remove a U-joint. I'm going to now remove the one from the other end of the drive shaft, and I'll be ready to de-rust the drive shaft. Just so you know what tools I used, the pusher socket, a 17mm impact socket is what I used. The receiver is a 1 1/8 inch, and it's a 12 point, so that might make a difference between a 6 and a 12 point. Once you get the caps off and you're pushing against this little thing here, you need a smaller socket to fit on that, and what I used was a 13mm impact socket. If you have those, maybe they'll work for you. Otherwise, just pick something that works as I described. Okay, having learned a little bit from the first time, I'm going to try to take this out of the vise and hold this cup in the vise and pry it off like I did without pushing this all the way out of the cup, out of the yoke, because I had a little bit of trouble getting that cup back into the yoke. So I'm going to try it that way, and hopefully that will make it a little bit easier.